Hello guys, once again Navneet tutorials for Commerce Booster, especially for class 12, AMBOS as per new syllabus 2018, solve solution of 2019 and 2020. Subjects discussed here are accountancy, business studies, economics and entrepreneurship. Today I am going to discuss related to economics. Now let's move to our page number 90. (2019) question paper of economics for commerce. Full marks is 100. Time allotted here is 3 hours. Let's read the instructions. The figure in the margin indicate full marks for the question's general instructions. Write all the answers in the answer script. Attempt part A objective serially. Attempt all parts of a question together at one place. Alright. Let me tell you, in 2019 the board, they have set the paper but not segregated that in class 12 microeconomics they have also asked the question related to microeconomics. So right now I'll just read it out. It's just a brief description. Whatever is important point of view for the examination of 2021, like macro and Indian is important towards to you, so only try to grab that things, but I'll explain everything as per the question paper that I have made. Okay. Part A objective, marks is 40, section 1, 20 marks, 2019 economics. Let's begin with MCQs. A. Choose and write the correct answer of the following form. The given alternatives: 1 into 10 equals to 10 marks. Microeconomics is branch of economics that studies about consumer behavior, a business firm, the determination of rent, or all of the above. Here the answer is all of the above. Question number 2. The utility derived from the consumption of the last unit of commodity is called total utility, average utility, marginal utility, negative utility. Marginal utility is the answer. Question number 3. All the following curves are U-shaped except all average cost curve, average variable cost curve, marginal cost curve, and average fixed cost curve. The above 3 options are U-shaped. Only average fixed cost curve, which is horizontal, parallel to the x-axis and straight line, so it is not a U-shaped. So answer is AFC curve. Question number 4. Perfect knowledge of market condition is a feature of monopolistic competition, perfect competition, oligopoly, or monopoly. Here the answer is perfect competition. Question number 5. According to Professor Knight, profit arises due to unforeseen risk, innovation, foreseeable risk, none of the above. The answer is option number A, unforeseeable risk. Question number 6. Which of the following is not correct? GNP minus depreciation equals to NNP. And I'll not go for the option number B and option number C. Come to directly NNP minus depreciation equals to GNP. When you see the option number A, the technical point, GNP minus depreciation equals to NNP is the correct. And when depreciation goes to NNP, then it will be add back. So it has shown negative, means NNP minus depreciation equals to GNP. So this one is not correct. Alright. Don't get confused. These are puzzle questions. I have written note also. Option A and B makes us puzzle. If option A is correct and option D, depreciation, needs to be add back. So here it needs to be option D. All right. Next. Question number 7. The difference between the value of import of goods and export of goods is called current account, balance of payment, capital account, balance of trade. We usually get confused and we always used to tick balance of payment, but the answer is balance of trade. Agriculture comes under the primary, secondary, tertiary, public sector, so it's a primary sector. So answer is primary sector. Which of the following is a major import item of India? Capital goods, crude oil and petroleum products, fertilizers, food grains. Here, crude oil and petroleum are the major item of import of India. Option number B is right. Question number 10. Which of the following is the period of 12th 5-year plan? So it is according to Planning Commission. Nowadays the name of Planning Commission is Niti Aayog, and the options are 2012 to 2017, 2002 to 2007, 1997 to 2002, and the option number D is 2007 to 2012, and the answer is option number D, 2007 to 2012. Now fill in the blanks. 10 questions for 10 marks, 1 marks each. Number 1. In a two-sector economy, there is the household sector and the farm or producer sector. Alright. Next, the responsiveness of supply to change in price is called price elasticity of supply. Under monopoly, a firm marginal revenue curve lies where? Below the average revenue curve. So below is the answer. According to David Ricardo, rent is a producer's surplus, not the user, producers. Number 5, national income is a dash of goods and services which becomes available to a nation in a given period, normally a year, which is called output, or you can write down yield also, Y-I-E-L-D. So output is the simple one, try to remember it. A tax whose impact and incidence falls on the same person is called burden of tax. Number 7, a tax is a compulsory contribution imposed by a government on the citizen of a country. So government is the answer. Number 8, the share of agriculture in India's national income is 18%, but now it has reduced again currently. So as per the question data, 18% is the answer of that time. Question number 9, cottage and small scale industries are dash intensive industries, labor intensive, because more the labor are working over there. If there will be machinery, then it will be a capital intensive. Section 2 for 20 marks, 10 questions, short question answers. 2 into 10 equals to answer any 10 of the following in 2 or 3 sentences each. Number 1, state the 3 basic problems of an economy. The 3 basic problems of an economy are what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. Complete the following table. Number of apples and total utility are given. Number of apples are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Total utility 10, 18, 24, 28, 28 and 25. Marginal utility we have to find out. So on first, total utility is 10. So marginal utility will also be constant, that is 10. Second, it has increased to 18. So 8 is increased. So we have to write down 8. Again, in 18 and 24, 6 is the difference. So the marginal utility is 6. Again, 24 to 28, 4 is the difference. We have written 4. Again, 28 minus 28 equals to 0. And then 28 minus 25, which is minus 3. They have just decreased. So the marginal utility decreased, negative. Mention 2 factors affecting supply of a commodity. Answer: there are several important factors that determine supply of a commodity. They are: point number A, price of the given commodity, price of other goods, state of technology. Question number 4, mention the conditions of the equilibrium of a firm. The conditions of the equilibrium of a firm are: point number 1, when it its marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue, and marginal curve cuts the marginal revenue from below. And point number 2, that is condition number 2, a firm in equilibrium enjoys supernormal profit if average revenue exceeds marginal cost. And I have copy paste this two diagrams which will help you to understand the terms and condition from Google search engine images. Question number 5. Give the economic meaning of the word market. The concept of market is any structure that allows buyers and sellers to exchange any type of goods, services and informations. The exchange of goods or services with or without money is a transaction. Question number 6. What is real wage? Real wage show the value of wages adjusted for inflation. Real wages are a guide to how living standards have changed. For example, if nominal actual wages increased 5% but inflation was 5%, this would mean the purchasing power of wages had remained the same. Question number 7. What is gross domestic product? GDP. The gross domestic product is the standard measure of the value added created through the production of goods and services in a country during a certain period. GDP MP, this is market price, equals to NDP MP, net domestic product at market price plus depreciation. And the other one is GDP at factor cost, compensation of employees plus rent plus interest plus profit plus depreciation. Question number 8. Mention two sources of public revenue. The two sources of public revenue are, point number A, tax revenue. This refers to receipts from all kinds of taxes such as income tax, corporate tax, excise duty, etc. Point number 2, non-tax revenue. This refers to government revenue from all sources other than tax. These are incomes which the government gets by way of sale of goods and services rendered by different government departments. Question number 9. Give two distinctions between public and private finance. Differences between public finance and private finance are as follows. Basis, public finance, private finance. 3 columns are made. Number 1, income and expenditure adjustment. Under public finance, income adjusted according to expenditure. Under private finance, expenditure adjusted according to income. Point number 2, borrowing. Under public finance, can borrow both internally and externally. Under private finance, can borrow externally only. Point number 3, present as future income. Under public finance, investments done for long-term benefits. Under private finance, short-term benefits expected. Question number 10. Explain two reasons for international trade. The two reasons for international trade are, point number 1, reduce dependence on your local market. Our home market may be struggling due to economic pressure, but if we go global, we will have immediate access to particularly unlimited range of customers in areas where there is more money available to spend, and because different cultures have different wants and needs, we can diversify our products range to take advantage of these differences. Point number 2, economic advantage. Take advantage of currency fluctuation. Export when the value of dollar is low against other currencies and reap the very real benefits. Words of warning through watch out for import tariffs in the country we are exporting to, and keep an eye on the value of dollar. We don't want to be caught out by any sudden upsurge in the value of the dollar, or we could lose all the profit we have worked so hard to gain. Question number 11. What are the components of the Green Revolution? The components of the Green Revolution are high yielding variety of seeds, irrigation surface and ground, use of fertilizers, that is chemicals, use of insecticides and pesticides, command area development, consolidation of holdings, land reforms. Question number 12. Why is Industrial Policy 1956 considered superior to the Industrial Policy 1948? Industrial Policy 1956 was considered to be superior to Industrial Policy 1948 because Industrial Policy Resolution of 1956 is adopted by the Indian Parliament and was the first comprehensive statement on industrial development of India. 1956 Industrial Policy Resolution mainly focused on iron and steel machinery tools manufacturing industries as compared to the Industrial Policy 1948. Focus on small and cottage industries. Number 13. Give two measures to increase agricultural production in India. The two measures to increase agricultural production in India are: point number 1, technological measures. Measures are taken to increase agricultural production substantially to meet the growing needs of the population and also to provide a base for industrial development, including steps to increase both extensive cultivation and intensive cultivation. Land reforms. Land reforms measures are taken to abolish intermediary interests in land, namely zamindars, jagirdars, etc., and transfer of land actual tiller of the soil were expected to be taken up on a priority basis. Name three keywords associated with economic reform. The three keywords associated with economic reforms are: point number A, liberalization, removal of restrictive barriers. Point number B, P stands for privatization, conversion of public sector into private sector, that is partially, wholly, neither nor partially. G stands for globalization. It is a platform, that is global platform, where one economy can interact or concern with the other economy for mutually exclusive benefits, that is economic growth at global level. Now we move to our part B, descriptive. Wait a minute. बंद कर. Under part B, answer 10 questions taking 4 from section 1 and 3 each from section 2 and section 3. Under section 1, question number 1, explain with the help of diagram the law of diminishing marginal utility. Microeconomics question, not required for class 12 nowadays because it comes in class 11 nowadays. They have just shifted the syllabus from class 12 to class 11 and now you have to only study for class 12 macroeconomics and Indian economy. So I just read it out and no need to focus more on this. Utility. Question number 1, explain with the help of a diagram the law of diminishing marginal utility for 6 marks. Utility, it is the capacity of a commodity through which human wants are satisfied. Alfred Marshall, during the course of consumption and more units of a commodity are used, every successive unit gives utility with a diminishing rate provided other thing remains same although total utility increases. Table has been given over here. Unit of consumption 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Total utility 20, 35, 45, 50, 50 and 45. And marginal utility again we are getting high, low, 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 low. Then it comes to 0, that is point of starting, and then negative. This is the diagram which I have made. Law of diminishing marginal utility. You can see on the x-axis one straight demand curve that goes slightly by cutting the x-axis and it gives a negative slope, and this is only called marginal utility, law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, observation: when 1 unit is consumed the utility derived is 20, when 2, 3, 4 unit is consumed the utility derived being fall down, and when the unit 5 is consumed there is 0 utility or no utility. When 6th unit is consumed the utility derived is diminished and goes to negative, that is -5. X-axis represents units, Y-axis represents marginal utility. Situation arises on law of diminishing marginal utility. Number 1, quality of goods or service should be unchanged. Point number 2, consumption of goods should be continuous. Consumers' mental outlook should not change. Units of goods should not be few or less. Alright. Question number 2. What is elasticity of demand? Measure elasticity of demand with the help of geometric method. 6 marks. Elasticity of demand for 1 marks. Price elasticity of demand is an economic measure of the change in the quantity demanded or purchased of a product in relation to its price change. So the formula of price elasticity of demand equals to percentage or proportionate change in quantity demanded divided by percentage or proportionate change in price. Whereas percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price, the geometric method measure the elasticity of demand at different points on the different curve and is also known as the point method of measuring the elasticity of demand. Let us consider the figure given below where AB is a demand curve, C is the specific point on the demand curve. It divides the demand curve into two segments, upper segment CA and lower segment CB. Elasticity of demand at point C is the ratio between lower segment and upper segment. ED equals to CB lower segment, that is C, divided by CA upper segment from C. Now you can see the diagram also. This is the diagram. And these are the measures we have to study. The elasticity of demand at different points on a straight line demand curve can be derived by this method. Elasticity is 0 at point B of the demand curve where the demand curve touches the x-axis. ED equals to 0 or BA. Elasticity is infinite or elasticity is infinity at point A Elasticity is infinity at point A of the demand curve where the demand curve touches the y-axis. ED equals to BA or 0 or infinite. ED equals to infinite. Okay, give the symbol of infinity. Then elasticity is unity or unit at the midpoint C of the demand curve where the lower segment is equal to the upper segment of the demand curve. ED equals to CB by CA, which is equals to ED equals to 1. Elasticity of demand equals to 1. Point number 4. Elasticity is greater than unity at any point L to the left of the midpoint of the demand curve. ED equals to LB by LA, which is ED is greater than 1. Elasticity is less than unity at any point M to the right of the midpoint of the demand curve. ED is equals to MB by MA, which is 1 is greater than ED. Distinguish between fixed cost and variable cost for 6 marks. This can be asked in macro also and Indian economy also. So please try to remember. Difference between fixed cost and variable cost are basis, fixed cost, variable cost. Basis. Fixed costs are the expenses on fixed factor of production. For example, machinery. Variable cost. Variable cost is the expenses spent on variable factors of production. For example, cost of raw material. Point number 2. Dependence on output. Under fixed cost, these do not change with the level of output of a firm. In fact, they exist even when output is 0. Under variable cost changes with level of output of the firm and obviously disappears when the output is 0. Point number 3. Graphical shape. TFC, total fixed cost, is a straight line parallel to x-axis. TVC, total variable cost, is inverse S shape. Point number 4. Time. Fixed costs do not change during short run. Variable cost can change even during short run. Point number 5. Production. Production can be continued even when fixed costs are not recovered. Point number 5. No firm will produce if it is unable to recover its variable cost even. Point number 6. Control. The costs cannot be controlled and have to be paid. And under variable cost, this cost can be controlled by controlling the volume of production. Now we move to our next question. Question number 4. How is the equilibrium price and output determined under condition of monopoly? For 6 marks. Answer. Monopoly. A monopoly exists when a specific person or enterprise is the only supplier of a particular commodity. This contrasts with a monopsony, which relates to a single entity control of a market to purchase a goods or service, and with oligopoly and duopoly, which consist of a few sellers dominating a market. Features of a monopoly market. Point number 1. A monopoly market maximizes profit. Point number 2. A monopoly market is a price maker. Point number 3. In this market, entry and exit is high barrier. Point number 4. There is single seller and many buyers. Point number 5. Price discrimination is present here. A firm under monopoly faces a downward sloping demand curve or average revenue come further in monopoly. Since average revenue falls as more units of output are sold, the marginal revenue is less than the average revenue. In other words, under monopoly, the marginal revenue curve lies below the average revenue curve. The equilibrium level in monopoly is that level of output in which marginal revenue equals marginal cost. The producer will continue producer as long as marginal revenue exceeds the marginal cost at the point where MR is equal to MC. The profit will be maximum, and beyond this point the producer will stop producing. On the y-axis, revenue and cost, and on the x-axis, P, T, MC, AC. Below the AC, MC have cut and rises above to the AC. Okay. AR and MR is also there, making two equilibrium point. As you can see in the diagram. It can be seen that from the diagram that up to OM output, marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, but beyond OM, the marginal revenue is less than marginal cost. Therefore, the monopolist will be in equilibrium at output OM, where MR, marginal revenue, is equal to marginal cost, and the profit are the greatest. The corresponding price in the diagram is MP or OP. It can be seen from the diagram at output OM, while MP is the average revenue, ML is the average cost. Therefore, PL is the profit per unit. PL is the profit per unit. Now the total profit is equal to profit per unit multiplied by OM output. In short run, the monopolist has to keep an eye on the variable cost, otherwise he will stop producing. In the long run, the monopolist can change the size of plant in response to a change in demand. In the long run, he will make adjustment in the amount of the factors fixed and variable, so that marginal revenue equals not only in short run MC but also long run MC, marginal cost. Define interest. Distinguish between gross interest and net interest. Interest. In finance and economics, interest is the payment from a borrower or deposit taking financial institution to a lender or depositor of an amount above repayment of the principal sum at a particular rate. It is distinct from a fee which the borrower may pay the lender or some third party. Gross interest. When the borrower pays an amount to the lender for borrowing the lender's money, the amount so paid by the borrower is known as interest. Therefore, when people refers to interest, they generally refers to the gross interest. Gross interest is the total amount paid by the borrower to the lender by the money. Net interest is the amount paid to the capitalist only for the use of the capital. It is the reward paid to the capitalist exclusively for the use of capital. Net interest is the compensation for lending capital to other under conditions where there is no risk or inconvenience due to investment and the lender is not required to perform any work other than lending his money. Difference between gross interest and net interest. Gross interest is a wide term as it includes net interest. Net interest is a narrow term as it forms a constituent of gross. Number 2, rate does not remain constant under gross interest. Under net interest remains more or less constant. Gross interest, point number 3, determination involves other factors too. Net interest, point number 3, determined by equilibrium of demand for and supply of capital. Question number 6. Explain Ricardian theory of rent under extensive cultivation for 6 marks. Answer is, David Ricardo defined rent as that portion of the produce of the earth which is paid to the landlord for the use of original and indestructible power of the soil. In this theory, rent is nothing but the producer's surplus or differential gain, and it is found in land only. Extensive cultivation refers to the farming system under which, in order to increase the agricultural production, the area under cultivation is extended. Therefore, under extensive cultivation, more output is produced by increasing the quantity of land. Grades of land are given. The table you can see A, B, C, D. Column number 2, cost of doses of labor and capital. Column number 3, production. Column number 4, surplus over others land, and column number 5, rent. Grades of land ABCD. Cost of doses of labor and capital 100, 100, 100, which is fixed. Production 120 for grade A, grade B 90, grade C 60, and grade D 30. Now 120 minus 90 equals to 30, surplus over the land. So different grades of land, differentiation is 30, 30, 30 and 0. Rent is 90, 60, 30 and 0. These are the observations. Let's look at the observation. I have made one diagram. Y-axis represent production, x-axis represent grades of land. Ricardian theory of rent under extensive method. Observation is line OX represents grades of lands, line OY represents production. Under situation grade A, production is 120, grade B 90, grade C 60, grade D is 30. Grade A, super production, highly fertile. Grade B, normal production, less fertile. Grade C, average production, lesser fertile. And grade D, very low production, low fertile. Here it is clear that the marginal land plays an important role in the determination of the economic rent. Now section 2. Question number 7. Explain the circular flow of income in two-sector model with the help of a diagram. For 6 marks, 5 plus 1. The diagram you can see the circular flow of income, two-sector model. Household is there and firm is there. In between, production, product market, goods and services, payment for goods and services is been made by the product made by the industry for household. Goods and services are being taken by the household from the industry or firm. Payment for goods and services is being made by the household to the firm, and payment of factor income, factor service, factor market. Factor income here means factor market. Household are the consumers as well as they are the workers in the firm, and the service they are providing, they are taking as wages, rent, interest, like this. Payment for factor income. The following assumption with regard to a simple economy with only two sector of economics activity are, there are only two sectors in the economy, that is household and firm. Household supply factor services to firm. Firm here factor services from household. Household spend their entire income on consumption. Firm sells all that is produced to the household. There is no government or foreign trade. Such an economy described above has two types of market. They are market for goods and services, that is product market, market for factors of production, factor market. As a result, we can derive the following in the case of our simple economy. Number 1, total production of goods and services by firm, total consumption of goods and services by household sector. Point number 2, factor payment by firms, factor income of household sectors. Consumption, point number 3, consumption expenditure of household sector equals to income of firm. Point number 4, hence real flow of production and consumption of firms and households equals to money flow of income and expenditure of firms and households. Question number 8, define public debt, discuss the need for public debt. Public debt. It can be defined as the amount of debt taken by government from internal as well as external source to meet out its deficit. Government needs to borrow when current revenue falls short of public expenditures. Public debt is created because the public debt is the amount of money that the government owes to outside debtors. Point number 2, public debt allows government to raise funds to grow their economy or pay for services. Point number 3, politicians prefer to raise public debt rather than raise taxes. Point number 4, when public debt reaches 77% of GDP or higher, the debt begins to slow growth. Point number 5, to finance national government deficits. Point number 6, to obtain foreign exchange. Point number 7, to secure financing at more favorable terms than the opportunity cost revenues. Point number 8, to take advantage of benefits attached to the funds, for example, technology. Next question, question number 9, distinguish between direct and indirect taxes. What are the merits of direct and indirect taxes? Difference between direct and indirect taxes. Basis, direct taxes, indirect taxes. 3 columns are there. Under basis, the first point is meaning direct tax. If a tax levied on the income or wealth of a person is paid by the person or his office directly to the government, it is called direct tax. Indirect tax, if tax levied on the goods and services of a person is collected from buyers by another person, seller, and paid by them to the government, is called the indirect tax. Point number 2, incidence and impact. Number 2, under direct taxes, falls on the same person, imposed on the income of a person and paid by the same person. Under indirect taxes, point number 2, fall on different persons, imposed on the seller, but collects from the consumer and paid by the seller. Point number 3, evasion. Under direct tax, tax evasion is possible. Under indirect tax, point number 3, tax evasion is more difficult. Point number 4, inflation. Under direct tax helps in reducing the inflation. Under indirect tax contributes to inflation. Point number 5, examples. Under direct tax, income tax, wealth tax, capital gain tax, securities transaction tax, perquisites tax. Under indirect tax, examples are GST, goods and service tax, custom duty, etc. The merits, advantages, benefits of indirect taxes are: convenient. Indirect tax are more convenient to pay. This tax generally begins on commodities are wrapped up in price, hence the taxpayer does not feel the burden directly. Point number 2, not easily evadable. Indirect taxes are difficult to evade as they are usually merged with prices. Broad-based. Indirect taxation, usually being commodity taxes, has a broader scope than direct taxation. The low income strata of society which are exempt from direct taxes can be easily caught in the net of taxation through indirect taxes to undergo the sacrifice according to their ability to pay. Social value. Indirect taxes have a high social value. They can serve to improve social morale and public health by discouraging consumption of such harmful commodities as intoxicants, tobacco, etc. Forced saving. Indirect taxes are an effective means of mopping up consumers' surplus and thereby diverting the saving potential of the commodity or community at large into the hands of the government, which can be utilized fruitfully in expanding or expediting the process of capital formation in the country. मतलब इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बड़ा करना. Question number 10. Give an account of the increase in public expenditure in recent times. The account of increase in public expenditure in recent times are: number 1, income elasticity and increase in per capita income. A rising share of public expenditure in national income is associated with a rise in per capita income. Thus, an increase in per capita income over a period of time may cause a relative rise in public expenditure. This is because the demand for public goods tends to expand with the rise in per capita income. Point number 2, effects of war and need for defense. The defense expenditure is thus continuously rising. It contains expenditure on war materials, maintenance and growth of armed forces, naval and air force wings, expenses on the development of military art and practice, pensions to retired war personnel, interest on war debts, cost rehabilitation, etc. Resource mobilization and ability to finance. When the government innovates more and more methods and resource mobilization, its ability to finance public expenditure grows. Public sector outlays could be increased by more taxation yields, public debt, foreign aid and deficit financing. Point number 4, inflation. With the rising price, the government has to keep on increasing public expenditure to carry out its functions and maintain the supply of public goods intact. During inflation, the government has to pay dearness allowances to its employees, which obviously call for an extra burden on public expenditure. The role of democracy and socialism. Point number 5. The recent growth of democracy and socialism everywhere in the world has caused public expenditure to increase very much. A democratic structure of government is inevitably more expensive than a totalitarian government. In India, democracy has certainly become a costly affair. Expenditure on election, this is election, not election, and by election is increasing. Let me correct. The urbanization effect. The spread of urbanization is an important factor leading to the relative growth of public expenditure in modern times. With the growth of urban areas, there has been an increasing tendency of expenditure on civil administration. Question number 11. Distinguish between domestic trade and international trade. The differences between domestic trade and international trade are: 2 columns, domestic trade and international trade. Point number 1, communication and control are direct and immediate. Under international trade, international communication and control might be difficult. Under domestic trade, point number 2, business laws and regulations are clearly understood. Under international trade, point number 2, foreign laws and regulations might not be clear. Under domestic trade, point number 3, business is conducted in a single language. Under international trade, multilingual communication is required. Point number 4, under domestic trade, business risk can usually identify and assessed. Under international trade, point number 4, environment may be unstable that it is extremely difficult to identify and assess risk. Point number 5, under domestic trade, planning and organization control systems can be simple and direct. Under international trade, point number 5, the complexity of international trade often necessitates necessitates the adoption of complex and sophisticated planning, organization and control system. Now section 3, question number 12. Define infrastructure. Explain the types of infrastructure. Infrastructure. It refers to all such services and facilities which are needed to provide different kinds of services in an economy and which are essential in raising the place of economic growth of a country. Type of infrastructure are economic infrastructure. This infrastructure is directly linked with the economic development of a country or an organization. This includes the basic amenities and services that directly influence and benefits the production process, economic distribution. Few examples of economic infrastructure are power, transportation, irrigation, communication, etc. Social infrastructure. This infrastructure is the basic service that improved individual productivity and achieve social objectives. Social infrastructure contributes indirectly to the country's economic development. For instance, the education sector does not contribute directly to the economic development of a country. However, it helps indirectly by high quality education to the students and therefore producing doctors, scientists, engineers, etc. and technologists. Few examples of social infrastructure are water supply, sanitation, health, housing, etc. Question number 13. Discuss the need and type of agricultural finance. Answer is credit is needed in every type of business and agriculture is no exception. The need for agriculture credit becomes more important when it moves from traditional agriculture to modern agriculture. That means from conventional method to modern or today's current period method. Agricultural labor is often underemployed. Production suffers from weather risk. The capacity of farmers to save and invest is very low. The agriculture productivity is low due to low use of inputs. The farmers therefore need credit to increase productivity and efficiency in agriculture. The need is increased over the years with the rise in use of fertilizers, mechanization and rise in prices. Some of the reasons why farmers needs agricultural credit. Point number 1. Purchase of new inputs. The farmer need finance for the purchase of new inputs, which include seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, irrigation water, etc. If the seeds of high yielding varieties and other modern inputs are made available to the farmers, they can increase productivity not only of land but also of laborers. Point number 2. Purchase of implements. Credit is required by the farmers for the purchase of tractors, threshers, harvesters, water pumping sets, etc. The use of appropriate machinery in and will increase production by growing more than one crop on the same piece of land at the same time. Point number 3. Better management of risk. Credit enables the farmers to better manage the risks of uncertainties of price, weather, etc. They can borrow money during raining days and pay back the loans during peak years of crops. Point number 4. Permanent improvement in land. Credit also helps the farmers to make permanent improvement in land like sinking of wells, land reclamation, horticulture, rotation of crops, etc. Point number 5. Better marketing of crops. If timely credit is available to the farmers, they will not sell the produce immediately after the harvest is over. At that time, the price of agricultural goods are low in the market. Credit enables the farmers to withhold the agricultural surplus on sale in the market when prices are high. Point number 6. Facing crisis. The credit is required by the farmers to face crisis. The crisis can be caused by failure of crops, drought, of floods. Question number 14. What are the problems faced by small scale and cottage industries? Give measures to tackle these problems. The problem faced by small scale and cottage industries are poor capacity utilization. Point number 1. In many of the small scale industries, the capacity utilization is not even 50% of the installed capacity. Nearly half of the machinery remains idle. Capital is unnecessarily locked up and idle machinery also occupies space and need to be serviced, resulting in increased cost. Point number 2, problem of working capital. Many small scale industries face the problem of inadequate working capital due to lack of market knowledge. Their production exceeds demand and capital gets locked in unsold stock. They do not have enough funds to meet operational expenses and run the business. Point number 3, inability to meet environmental standards. The government lays down strict environmental standards and courts have ordered disclosure of polluting industries. Small scale industries which are already facing shortage of funds to carry out their business are not able to spend huge sums on erecting chimneys, setting up of effluent treatment plants, etc. Measures to tackle problems faced by small scale industries are: point number 1, equitable allocation of raw materials, imported components and equipments. The small scale industrial unit should be given adequate degree of priority in the allocation pattern of essential but scarce raw material, imported components and equipment. Point number 2, provisions for adequate finance. Promoters' own capital in the small scale industries unit is generally small and generation of internal resource is small and slow. They depend therefore on the external source of finance is a substantial measure. Number 3, marketing assistance. Marketing of their products at remunerative prices is the major problem of small scale industries unit. There is therefore a clear case for government intervention with a view to reducing the disadvantages arising out of market imperfections. Market research, intelligence and information system should be strengthened and the result made available to these units. Question number 15. Discuss the components of India's foreign trade. Composition of India's foreign trade. Composition of trade refers to times of exports and imports. After independence, there has been a substantial change in the composition of India's foreign trade. Following observations highlight the principal changes with regard to export and import items of India's foreign trade. Point number 1, decline in percentage share of agriculture exports. There has been a significant decline in percentage share of agriculture items in total exports. It happened owing to the facts. Point number A, that India started using the farm products as raw material for its domestic industry, and point number B, that a substantial rise in India's population has raised the domestic consumption of farm products. Point number 2, decline in the percentage share of conventional items. Conventional items of India's export include jute, tea, food grains and minerals. These items constitute the bulk of India's export at the time of independence, but with planned development programs in place, domestic demand for the conventional items has tended to rise. Accordingly, their shares in total exports has tended to fall. Point number 3, increase in percentage share of manufactured goods. Percentage share of manufactured goods in total exports has tended to rise. Presently, gems and precious metals, machinery and vehicles are the notable exports of India. This points to the fact that planned development program launched after independence have started yielding results. These changes in the composition of India's foreign trade suggest that India is no longer a static and backward economy, that the Indian economy no longer merely an agrarian economy. It is showing significant sign of structural transformation from the predominance of primary sector to that of secondary and tertiary sector. Question number 16. Examine the main features of economic reform introduced in India in 1991. The main features of new economic reforms introduced in India since 1991 are delicensing. Number A, delicensing. Only 6 industries were kept under licensing scheme. Point number B, entry of private sector. The role of public sector was limited only to 4 industries. Rest all the industry were opened for private sector also. Point number C, disinvestment. Disinvestment was carried out in many public sector enterprises. Point number D, liberalization of foreign policy. The limit of foreign equity was raised to 100% in many activities, that is NRI, and foreign investors were permitted to invest in Indian companies. Point number E, selling up of Foreign Investment Promotion Board, FIPB. This board was set up to promote and bringing foreign investment in India. Point number F, setting up of small scale industry. Various benefits offered to small scale industries. Point number G, liberalization in technical areas. Automatic permission was given to Indian companies for signing technology agreements with foreign companies. That's all for 2019 economics. So guys, you have to focus on macroeconomics and Indian economy. The question of macro and Indian economy are also available in 2019 paper. Except micro, you have to leave the micro portion. Only you have to consider the macro. Alright, and Indian economy. Thank you.